I am pleased to be joined by a reoccurring guest of the Touching Gloves Boxing Podcast, Chris Bianchi and Tre. How's it going, guys?
All good. All good.
Thanks for coming, guys. Oh, sorry, what was that, Tre? That's my bad.
I was just about to say, absolute pleasure being on Sports Town podcast, of course. So we obviously made our American debut the last time he was on the show. So we're happy to obviously come back and, do what Tyson Fury done and, put our faces in America.
Yeah, again, thanks for coming on, guys. And again, the links of the Touching Glove podcast will be down in the description below. So we know a little bit about your podcast as you were on last time, but if you want to talk more about it before we start talking about the epic fight on Saturday night.
Yes, BNJ, man, start us off, man.
Yeah, so literally all it is, we just talk about boxing, we're boxing lovers. So we just, review fights, talk about potential fights and just discuss in more depth, really, and have fun with it.
Yeah, just to sort of add what obviously BNG is saying, we're sports lovers, and of course, having the opportunity to talk about boxing is an absolute honor. We're not pundits, we're not analysts, I would say, but we're just lovers of the sport, and to be able to obviously give our opinion about like a major fight or major event is something that we enjoy doing. So it's for the purists and it's made by purists.
All right. And yeah, let's just go on to talking about the epic fight on Saturday night between Fury versus Wilder. Went 11 rounds. Eventually Fury got the win in the 11th round. But I mean, just what did you guys think about overall the fight?
Whew. It was electrifying. Literally. Whew. I had goosebumps. I mean, I said from the get-go, it's 50-50 and you're going to see some knockouts. Mm-hmm. And boy, I was shocked. I mean, literally when Fury knocked Wilder down on round 3, I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. But then when Wilder knocked Fury down in round 4 twice, I was like, whoa. But then watching it again, I felt that Wilder was tired. I felt that he didn't have the energy to finish off Fury. But hey, the best man won.
Yeah, you know what? This fight, there's no words to sort of put into how big this fight was. So for me, this was one of the greatest fights I've seen in my entire life in terms of the excitement. And look, there wasn't a lot of skill on show. It was more gritty. It was more whoever had the most heart was going to win the fight. I did say that, obviously in the previous pod, I thought that Wilder was gonna get the win, and he didn't get the job. But we did see that he made a massive improvement from the second fight. So look, you got to give all the credit to Malik Scott and Deontay Wilder's team for the way they prepared this time around for this fight. And look, both there was no losers on that night for me. There was no losers. Everyone won in terms of the coverage, in terms of the fans, in terms of the fighters itself. It's a legacy fight, man. So I think everyone was winners on the night.
Yeah, that fight pretty much gave us everything. I mean, there was five knockdowns total. And of course, it didn't go the full 12 rounds. But with those two type of heavyweight fighters, normally it ends in some type of knockout. But I think the fight gave us everything we wanted. And of course, I think, and Tyson Fury said this after the fight, that he's the best fighter, but Deontay Wilder is the second best heavyweight fighter. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. We'll see with Joshua and Usyk, but I mean, really, I think that fight gave us everything we wanted. Now that the fight is over, who do you think Tyson Fury will fight next? Is it the winner of Joshua versus Usyk or someone else?
My understanding, so you've got Dylan White, he's fighting Otto Wallen this month on the 30th of October. Now, the winner of that, hopefully it's Dylan, he gets to challenge Fury for the WBC. Because remember, Usyk is still in contract to fight Joshua. So at the moment, Fury won't be able to fight Usyk yet. So it's going to have to be the winner of Dylan White and Otto Wellen. So let's just say, okay, Fury has fought Dylan, beats him, then he gets to challenge the winner of Usyk and Joshua. Hopefully it's Joshua, because that'll be two Brits and it'll be electrifying. It'll be a big fight in the UK. It'll be the first undisputed heavyweight fight. It's been, I think, over 21 years since it last happened. I think it was Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield in 1999. Yeah, so it's epic.
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely spot on, BNG. I'm not going to lie. I firstly have to say that in terms of the number one heavyweight in the division, for me is Tyson Fury, and the next fight potentially for him is exactly what BNG is saying. It depends on how the body snatcher Dylan White, depends on if he wins his fight. Look, I'm sure he's gonna win the fight, and if it's a big if, because we don't know where Tyson Fury is at in terms of his mind. He might retire, for example. He might just call it quits. We don't know. But on paper, what should happen is he should fight, obviously, the winner between Dylan White and Otto Wallin. And for me, this is a personal thing. As I'm a huge Manchester United fan, I want that fight to happen at Old Trafford for me, man. That would be absolutely amazing. If he can defend his belt at Old Trafford, that would be big. And then have hopefully, like what BNG is saying, the big undisputed fight with AJ, if he obviously beats Usyk in the rematch coming up. So fingers crossed we can have that massive showdown between AJ and Fury. It's not only because of the belts. Obviously, I know what Chris is saying in terms of the last time that there was an undisputed champion crowned. Them two, they don't like each other anyway. It is personal. It's been brewing up for quite some time. And for me, it will be the best way to conclude any sort of beef, which is obviously to get in the ring and to scrap it out. And I'm hoping, obviously, AJ does his part, wins his fight, and if Fury obviously does his part, which I expect he will. But it would be a tough fight against Dylan White if he was to fight Dylan White. So, yeah, exciting times for boxing. Exciting times.
Yeah. And before we kind of talk about what's next for Deontay Wilder, would you you guys say that fight between Fury and Wilder was one of the greatest heavyweight fights overall?
Indeed, yes. Yes. I mean, don't get me wrong. When they said that they're having the trilogy, I was like, oh gosh, again. But it was worth the money. It was worth it. I mean, this fight, both men showed heart. Both men showed heart, and like Tremaine said, they're both winners in my eyes.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what BNG saying. Both guys were winners on the night. It was just a tremendous competitive fight between two gladiators, two warriors. It was just perfect because we saw a total of 5 knockdowns in a heavyweight fight. 5 knockdowns for the title. That's absolutely massive. Like, for me personally, I thought there was going to be a knockout inside 5 rounds. The way both guys were leading up, man. But it just shows you how much heart and courage that both guys had. Both guys wanted to win, and both guys wanted to obviously end it on their shield. And we saw obviously Wilder push until the end, because I think from round, I would say 5 onwards, Wilder was just finished, man. It looked like he was exhausted. He was tired. Like, the whole fight took everything out of him, man. But it just shows you what sort of character Wilder is. He pushed on. He kept on going. What Fury, of course, was giving him some proper shots as well. Let's not forget that Fury obviously weighed in at 277 pounds. Imagine that fist being laid on your face, man. He received a lot of damage on that night. So I'm just hoping that obviously both guys can obviously recover quickly so they can carry on. And I don't think it's the end for Deontay Wilder. I know there's a lot of stuff online about saying things like he's not ready and he should retire. No, I think he's strong. He'll bounce back, and I think this is the beginning between obviously a relationship between Malik Scott and Deontay Wilder. I think they make a tremendous deal, and I think they'll do well.
Yeah, and I think with every, especially a heavyweight fight, you always want to see some type of knockdown. Like, you don't want to see the fight go all 12 rounds and not see any knockouts. Kind of like, well, I guess there was some, but there wasn't really a lot of action in the Usyk and Joshua fight. So you'd rather see some knockdowns like what we saw last fight. So what's next for Deontay Wilder? Does he now fight the loser of Usyk versus Joshua, or just what's the future hold for Wilder?
Yeah, most definitely. I think if Joshua was to lose to Usyk, I think him and Wilder, they've both got 2 L's on their records. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be a big fight, because just remember, in 2018, Wilder was supposed to fight Joshua. The fight never happened. And them two, it's serious, legitimate beef. I mean, even me and Tre spoke about it. They're both, Nigerian? So we were suggesting that they should fight in Nigeria, Rumble in the Jungle, Part 2.
It's absolutely spot on. I agree. I think both guys, let's hypothetically, if let's say AJ, like what BNG's saying, if he loses the rematch, I think that would be the perfect fight for both guys to kickstart their careers again, because it would be a big fight, especially against someone who they've hated each other for quite some time. They've been back and forth. As BNG said, the fight nearly happened, but it didn't happen. And to do with obviously the whole politics of, it was just a crazy situation. But I'm just hoping that one day we can actually see Wilder versus AJ in Nigeria for Rumble in the Jungle 2. That would be absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Deontay Wilder now, and just the whole, way. And of course, Dylan White still has to fight on October, I believe. If you guys can tell us more about that fight. And I think you guys said if he wins, he fights Tyson Fury for the WBC, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And if you just kind of want to explain more about his upcoming fight and what you guys think about his career.
Dylan, you know what? Dylan, I feel that Dylan, he's been through a lot. I feel that some people feel that he's underrated, but I don't think he is, because he was originally supposed to fight Wilder back in 2017. He was mandatory challenge for the WBC belt, and that fight never happened. So he's been waiting for over, I would say, 2,000 days now. So he was supposed to fight Fury in December, but Dylan lost to Povetkin in last year, August. So he had a rematch clause. So he fought Povetkin in March. Yeah, so he beat Povetkin. Now he's got Otto Wallin. Bear in mind, Otto Wallin fought Fury just before Fury fought Wilder rematch. And he gave Fury trouble. Like he bust his eye. So again, Dylan going into this fight, it's a dangerous fight, because I feel that sometimes when we talk about bigger stars, we're overlooking his opponent, and we don't want to overlook his opponent. So I feel that the mission for Dylan is forget Fury, forget all the hype, focus on Otto Wallin, get the job done, and then that's it. Then you're a ticket away from the challenge for the WBC. And not just that, Dylan can cause an upset in the division. He can beat Fury. Who knows? He could beat Fury, or they can draw the first fight and they might have a rematch, and then rematch, he could beat Fury. And if he beats Fury, it could be Dylan fighting Usyk for the undisputed, or it could be Dylan fighting AJ for the undisputed. So that'd be another rematch. So anything is possible in the heavyweight division. We've got so many heavyweight contenders. You've got Joe Joyce, you've got Daniel Dubois, you've got Derek Chisora, you've got Joseph Parker, you've got Baby Miller. Who else have you got? There's many more. There's so many names. You still got Wilder. So anything is possible. I always say anything's possible. I remember, and I keep saying this, I remember when AJ fought in the States, and they said he's fighting Andy Ruiz. A lot of people was like, this is a joke. But look what Andy Ruiz done. From there, I said to myself, you should never overlook anyone, especially your opponent. Anything can happen. Remember, in the heavyweight division, all it takes, one hit, that's it. Your game plan's done.
Yeah, definitely. You know what? 100% agree with what you're saying in terms of you can't overlook no one in this division because when it comes to heavyweight punching or heavyweight boxing, let's say, anything goes. One punch changes the game. And I think that Dylan White right now, obviously nicknamed the body snatcher for a reason. He's someone who's going to cause a lot of problems. Also, his left hook is one of the most
dangerous
left hooks in the heavyweight division as well. So he's knocked out a few people with that left hook. So for me, he's definitely a threat. And he deserves the title shot. Imagine having to wait. Imagine, let me sort of picture it like this. Imagine you've worked your whole life to be a world champion or to be in a position where you can achieve your goal, which is to be a world champion. And you finally sort of get to a point where the next fight is you're getting a title shot. And then suddenly you're getting told that if there's a delay, this is what's going on and this is what's happened. Imagine having to wait over 1,000 days. This guy has waited over 1,000 days to potentially be in this position that he is now, literally on the 30th. He's got this fight against Otto Wallin. If he wins this fight, then he's got his title shot booked, and that's done. So all I want Dylan White to do is I want him just to focus on the fight, focus on Otto Wallin, don't overlook him. I know obviously he's been waiting for over 1,000 days for a title shot, and naturally you're going to overlook your opponent, but he just needs to get the job done, focus, and once he gets the win, then he's back in the money. He's going to get his title shot. So Dylan, like what the NG is saying, can cause an upset in this division. He has a left hook which will cause damage, and also he's called the body snatcher for a reason. This guy has some serious power. And sort of to describe his character as well, he's not someone who's not scared. He hasn't got any fear as well. He's ready to get in a ring with whoever. Because with Otto Wallin, for example, he could not fight this fight if he doesn't want to. He could tell Eddie Hearn, look, mate, I don't want to do this fight, man. But it shows you what type of competitor he is. He wants to get in a ring with a sort of former opponent of Fury. And I'm guessing he just wants to absolutely annihilate him. So we can all be like, oh, wow. When Fury fought Wallin, this is what happened. But when Dylan fought Wallin, so it's for the build up as well, man. So, let's just hope everyone obviously does their part and, produce the goods so we can actually see this mega fight at Old Trafford. Please.
Yeah, that sounds super exciting. Of course, the pandemic didn't help anything. That just made it even worse and had to wait. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited for all those fights. Let's go start talking about the Usyk versus Joshua fight. It's going to be sometime, next spring. What do you guys think about the fight? And do you think that, or who do you think ultimately will end up winning this fight?
Right. This is the thing. I know Usyk, like I said, in the first fight, a lot of people thought Usyk was the underdog. Now, I've said it, Usyk's got over 300 amateurs under his belt, was the undisputed cruiserweight champion. Now he's come up to heavyweight. He's beaten so far 2 heavyweights, Derek Chisora. No, 3. I forgot his name. He fought some guy in America. Then he fought Derek Chisora, and now he's beaten champion AJ. Now, Usyk is a boxer. In my eyes, AJ came into the sport late. He started boxing at the age of 18. Now, AJ is a fighter. Now, Usyk cannot box into his southpaw. And I understand AJ has trouble boxing people or southpaw. The only way to beat Usyk is, because AJ is the bigger man, is to apply pressure on him, close him down. Don't trade with him, because if you trade with him, it's game over. The only way AJ could win is do the same tactics. Like, for example, Fury, when he fought Wilder, did you see what Fury was doing? He's put on weight, but he was applying pressure. He made sure he closed down Wilder so Wilder can't move, throw them mad hooks. He made sure he put his weight on him. Now that's what AJ needs to do. And also he needs to add somebody into his team. He needs to change his team, because I wasn't really happy with his corner on the night, because I thought that they wasn't actually telling him like, look, AJ, you're losing the fight, step up the gear. All I was hearing was, yeah, you're doing a good job. No, you're a champion. In my eyes, he's still a champion, but I believe he has to change the game plan. He has to change the game plan, because if it goes to points, potentially he can lose. So he's going to have to finish him. We need a knockout. KO.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you're 100% right. I think this fight needs to, with me, and this is what obviously I gathered. Obviously, I went to the fight. I was there live at the stadium, so I experienced the whole atmosphere. And let me sort of picture it for you. Imagine the audience. I would say 90% of the audience are rooting for AJ, of course. So you could imagine how it was when obviously Usyk got the decision. So for me, anyway, it was just simply Usyk is the boxer, like what Bienji's saying. AJ is the fighter, but for some reason, which is very, very strange, AJ wanted to, or maybe this is part of his team, I'm not too sure, wanted to try and box the slick southpaw. No, like, you saw what Fury done for the fight against Wilder. You saw it. That we spoke about this even in our previous podcast, that the way that Fury fought Wilder is the way that AJ should have fought Usyk. He should have, bulked up, or because I believe for this fight, he was more leaner, he was more slimmer for this fight. For me, he should have just stayed at like his normal heavyweight weight. As soon as like Usyk comes close, hold him up as well, let him feel your weight, slow him down, because Usyk was still very quick. He still had his footwork. He still had his head movement as well. He still looked like it was easy for him at the end of the day. And as I love AJ, I love what he does, man. But for that fight, I think there's just no excuses. I think Usyk was just generally the better person on that fight, and I think he deserved the win. And if AJ doesn't make some changes, I think we're going to see the same result again. We're going to see the same result again.
I think this time, Usyk, because he's so confident, I think he's going to try and go for the knockout.
Yeah, and that would be kind of disappointing, because we still want to see Joshua versus Fury. Ultimately, we wanted to see that since 2020, after Fury knocked out Wilder for the first time. So I think we kind of see that. And I think even though Usyk is a good fighter, he's underrated kind of, but I think altogether we want to see the main match between Fury versus Joshua, but I hope it does happen. So is there another boxing match that we're not really talking about right now that's going to be happening soon that you guys are really excited for?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. We've got quite a few fights, man. We've got Canelo versus Caleb Plant coming up. We've got Sean Porter versus Terence
Crawford.
We have got some fights coming up, and I'm excited. November's looking like a good month, and I absolutely cannot wait. Obviously, Sean Porter and Terence Crawford, that's going to be an absolutely incredible fight, because pound for pound, obviously, Terence Crawford is up there in the top 5, and for most, he's the best in the welterweight division for most. So to have this fight against Showtime Sean Porter is massive, because we know with Showtime Sean Porter, he's gonna come to fight. He's gonna make it ugly. He's not gonna let you breathe. So if Terence Crawford is not gonna be ready for that, then he's gonna lose his belt at the end of the day. So if he's gonna be ready to, be in be in the heat with Sean Porter, then let's see. Obviously Crawford on his end, he's saying that he wants to obviously put in a good show. He wants to produce a knockout. So, let's see if he's able to do it, man. But obviously BNG's been looking at the fight in more detail, man. So he can obviously tell you a lot more about what potentially could happen.
It's going to be a good fight, a close fight. Again, Sean Porter, he's going to be the underdog, but I don't know, man. I just don't know, because I feel that Sean Porter, when he fought Errol Spence beat him on points, right? They went all the way to 12th round. So I think
one round that saved Errol Spence, which was that last.
So I feel that the pressure's probably on Crawford, because Crawford wants to get Sean Porter out there ASAP. He doesn't want it to go on to points, onto 12th round. So if he, I don't know, knocks out Porter, then, then I think Crawford is probably pound for pound one of the best welterweights. But like I say, anything's possible in boxing. Imagine if Porter knocks him out. Listen, I don't know, man. It's the welterweight division is booming. I mean, look, you've got Ugas who beat Pacquiao. He's in the mix, and then you got Errol Spence. You got other upcoming superstars. You've got like the likes of don't know if you heard of him, Conor Benn. He's big here in the UK. So
he's Nigel Benn's son. Yeah, Conor Benn. He's obviously nicknamed the Destroyer as well, undefeated, and he's got a lot of potential. So obviously BNJ has been following him for quite some time, so he knows a lot about him.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you guys just said one punch. Anything can happen in boxing. All it takes is one punch. So I forgot. Yeah, exactly. I forgot to mention Canelo Alvarez. He's got a big fight, of course, too. And of course, that huge altercation with, exactly. So before we end the interview, and again, thanks for coming on, but if you guys want to kind of do a quick preview of that matchup.
I think Canelo is going for the knockout early. I think it's, I don't know what was said, but Plant got under his skin. And that was the wrong move to do. So I think my prediction, round between 4 to 8 knockout. I don't really know much about Plant, if I'm honest with you, but I just feel like with Canelo, he's in the next league. He's been constantly active, and he's pound for pound one of the best. So yeah, Canelo.
You know what? Like, looking at it on paper, what you're saying, Chris, 100% right with what you're saying, man. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking at quite a few factors. I've been obviously following Caleb Plant now for quite some time now, and there's a reason why they call him Sweet Hands. Sweet Hands. He's very slick in terms of how he pulls like the way he pulls off shots. He's very slick, and I think he's gonna make Canelo think in terms of how he's going to set him up for shots, set traps, and it's going to be interesting for me. And you know what the twist is going to be as well for this fight? I don't know if you guys know, but Andre Ward will be training Caleb Plant as well for this fight. And in the past as well, Andre Ward has always sort of been that situation with Andre Ward and Canelo, even though Andre Ward didn't really call out Canelo, but it's always been up in the air that, these two should have fought, and there's always something there. So I think that Andre Ward has got a sort of blueprint on how to beat Canelo, and who knows, could this help Caleb Plant win the fight? We don't know, but on paper, obviously Canelo's chasing history here. He can be obviously the first Mexican undisputed champion, I believe, isn't it?
Yes.
First in the full belt era, man. So it's gonna be a good fight. I agree with Chris. In between 4 and 8 rounds, there's gonna be a knockout, and you got to go with Canelo. You got to go with Canelo, but I wouldn't be surprised if Plant does win on points as well, with Andre Ward in his corner. But it just all depends on if Plant can withstand the power of Canelo. We'll know this in the first sort of few rounds. Let's see if he's able to withstand the onslaught from Canelo, because he's angry. Clearly, we know that he's going to be angry. So let's see what happens on the night.
Okay. Yeah, and it seems like Alvarez just, I don't know, do you guys think anybody can beat Alvarez, or who do you think actually has the best chance to knock down Canelo?
No, the one of the closest fight he had was with Triple G. I personally think that first fight they had, I personally think Triple G won that fight. That's just my opinion. But I don't think there's anyone there. I don't know. At first I thought one of the Charlo brothers, but I don't know. Nah, I can't see anybody. I can't. Nah.
Right now, Canelo's the man. If I'm honest with you, I think Canelo, he's at that mode now where he feels like he's untouchable, unbeatable, and I think he is, man. I'm not gonna lie. I think Canelo right now, there's not a man in this planet right now that can beat him, unless he challenges himself again and moves up to maybe cruiserweight. But I very much doubt it. He's obviously gone up to light heavyweight, won the title there, and he's obviously trying to obviously become the undisputed super middleweight champion. So I think once he achieves that goal, then it's only right that he goes up to light heavyweight, so we could see if he's really the guy.
Yeah. So again, Alvarez seems like he's almost unstoppable, pretty much, at least around his size. So again, thanks for coming on, guys. It was a pleasure talking boxing. And again, if there's anything else you want to add before we end the interview.
Yeah, it was just JJ. Obviously, we love what you do at the Sports Town podcast. It's always great to collaborate with you, of course. And just know that you've always got myself and BNG. We're always going to be here to, talk boxing with you. And look, we just want everyone to, just look out for the Touch Gloves boxing podcast. We're looking to take this global. So, guys, if you love boxing, if you're a purist, if you just want to hear views from just a fan's perspective, you got myself and BNG here.
Okay. All right. Again, thanks for coming on, guys. Again, all the links of the Touching Gloves podcast will be in the description down below. All right. Again, thanks for coming on, guys, and have a wonderful day.
And